one so precious and true. Only as mist before sunrise, I am hidden away from your view. Often I come with my blessing and strive all your
Andrew Jackson Davis on clairvoyance, its origin, powers, and progressiveness. Blinded by prevailing materialism and deeply perplexed by the conflicting claims of an incoming spiritualism, the candid and brave yet cautious searcher after pure truth finds himself unable to fix a just valuation upon the natural powers of the human mind. On the materialistic side, he beholds man's mental attributes as so many exquisitely refined galvanic forces or self-conscious currents and throbbing emotions, evolved by the combined action of cerebrum and cerebellum. On the other hand, on the spiritualistic side, he beholds man's feelings and thoughts as so many manifestations of various superintending intelligences, of spirits and angels, more or less perfect, who perpetually originate and feed whatever he may think or feel. The first party consign him to the bottomless pit of oblivion at the moment of death, while the party of the second part, although opening the sky to him on leaving the earth, consign him to a mixed and dubious existence, well nigh unintelligible. The first teaches him that the mind is the most perfect fruit, the superlative degree of organization, upon the matter tree of the universal world. The second teaches him that mind is at best but a medium for the demonstration of disembodied mentalities. But is there not a third party who should be summoned to yield testimony upon this important question? Of this other group of witnesses, the writer is, and from the first has been, a well-known member and illustrator. Clairvoyance is as certainly a power of the human mind as is memory or consciousness. It is not derived or borrowed. It is innate and natural. That clairvoyance, as to its manifestations, can be simulated, I do not deny. But I do deny the doctrine with the authority of knowledge that the real power of vision can be projected by another's will into man's mind. And yet it is true, and this truth is of the first importance in all investigations, that magnetism or some influence equivalent is indispensable to its origin and growth. The insistent materialism of the physical body acts like a clog to the feet of the interior spirit. The blinded eyes behind the bodily organs of vision must be rubbed and brightened up by magnetism. But once truly opened, once perfectly developed through the cloud of brain matter, they can never again be wholly closed. To the eyes of the inward mind, amaurosis is an impossibility. Although, by the force of disease or the oppression of circumstances, the exercise of these wondrous eyes may be, nay, often is, suspended. Terrestrial or celestial magnetisms, and sometimes nothing but the refinements of certain attenuating diseases, are required to originate clairvoyance. But when fully established, when it is consciously a part of the mental operations of the mind, and under the control of the will, which stage is the highest attainable in this world, it is a power of most wonderful scope. It has 4 phases, or more properly, in different persons, it is manifested in from 3 to 5 forms. The very highest is telescopic. I mean exactly what I say, telescopic. For example, the sun is supposed to be 92 million of miles from where I now write. Clairvoyance can bring it so near that it can scarcely be seen. Its extreme nearness strikes and blurs the mind's eyes, and yet these eyes do not see anything of that external sun which is contemplated by astronomers. It was a long time before I had perfectly and practically acquired this essential truth. Everything is seen from its vital points, thence outwardly and successively until the outmost or matter forms are fully discerned. Thus, clairvoyance is the vision of the natural eyes exactly reversed or inverted. And here it may be remarked that the mistakes and blunders of persons gifted with clairvoyance find in this fundamental fact a complete and all-sufficient explanation. Here, you are invited to read an eloquent and literally true delineation of the state termed the super condition, written by Dr. S.B. Britton, who is one of the most comprehensive thinkers and elegant writers in the new school. When our footsteps have encircled the earth, when we have surveyed all orbs in space and all outward forms of being on their surfaces, and even looked through the last open door in the stellar heavens into the outer darkness beyond, we have yet to penetrate the inner mysteries of being. Then the faculties, by a kind of introversion, begin to open in a new direction. We look inward and reach centerward, and at every step the mind is intromitted to a new and more interior sphere of being. The shadows that float in the dim atmosphere of our earthly life gradually disappear. The translucent forms of a superior creation hover about us, and from the loftiest summits of this world we behold the immortal dayspring. The grandest of all human discoveries is made when the senses are opened from within, and we are brought into conscious relations with the vast realm of the invisible and eternal. How does the spirit thrill with amazement and ecstasy at the grandeur of the scene presented, when the great veil that seemed to cover the world is suddenly drawn away, and we are made to realize that in the wide universe there is nothing concealed, that all doors are open to man. Before the vision of the philosophical seer, everything is transparent as the luminous ether. He dwells in a region of ineffable light and can know no darkness, save the obscurity that depends upon moral conditions or the existing state and relations of the soul. The solid earth becomes a crystal sphere. The rugged mountains stand out in the clear air white as alabaster forms, and the fathomless depths are discovered to be illuminated ways where the spirit may dwell in light and walk alone with God. If we gradually enter upon the inner life, we at once begin to see those divine realities which before were only objects of faith and hope. The stormy passions of this rude world are hushed, and sweet peace soothes the unresting heart. The music of glad voices and the universal harmony are precious realities to our waking consciousness. Radiant forms people our daydreams, or glide before us in visions of the night when deep sleep falleth on man. Through rifts in the clouds of our mortal sphere, we catch glimpses of happy faces, whose entrancing smiles are the intempered glories of God and His angels. If by a sudden and strong development of this vision we are caught up into heaven, things are revealed which the laws and limits of human speech do not enable us to communicate. But with reverent and grateful hearts we remember that, at the approach of the humblest soul, the everlasting doors of the inner temple are freely opened. The foregoing is a faithful description of the progressive stages which ultimate and blossom into the superior condition. The forms of clairvoyance are, first, a glimmering perception of things as in somnambulism. Second, a narrow and limited vision of disease, of personal acts, of metals, and of things terrestrial exclusively. Third, a discernment of personal states and emotions, thence thought reading, psychometry, fortune-telling, and prophecy. But there is, in reality, no clairvoyance of much value until the higher phase is fully developed. And yet development is one of its ever-present possibilities. The mind must be harmonious, or at least considerably self-poised and tranquil, and the purposes of the seeker unselfish and exalted. Then the will is pure and under its direction, and the eyes of the immortal may be unclosed. A steady progressiveness will be likely to characterize the spiritual perceptions, which should be systematically exercised. The temple of the starry heavens will swing wide open its flaming doors, and the gardens of the summerland come as near as are the fields of earth to the bodily eyes. The very near worlds of matter melt away, and the very far-off spiritual universes sweep into your immediate presence. This is what happens to every worthy mind a few hours after death.
Like most other religious revivals throughout the ages, this revival here at Longton has one man at its centre. That man, 50-year-old Gordon Higginson, High Priest of Spiritualism. While other churches throughout the district here remain empty on Sundays, this one here, Longton Spiritualist Church, is full. They're turning people away. What is it that makes spiritualism so popular here?
Be very quiet. Listen to what I have to say. If I come to you, just speak to me and try to understand that it's not easy to make contact. It's always very difficult. But what we have to do is to cooperate. Now, if you'll do that, then we will see exactly how many of our friends can get through to us and what evidence they can give to us that they still live. It looks to me as though one would have to go back into their very young life to find this name, and I seem to be somewhere where there may be a small shop of some sort. It looks to me as though it's somewhere there, on that next to the road there. But I felt that it was to do with the cats that had died in the yard. There was a terrible fuss about this cat, because the person wouldn't accept that it hadn't been poisoned or something.
Oh, that's right, yes, she was very upset about this cat.
Isn't this correct?
Yes, she was very upset about it.
I'm sure she was, because didn't she say that this hat wasn't natural, that someone had
Yes,
poisoned
somebody
this
had
cat?
poisoned it, that's right.
Yes, I know I'm right.
Yes.
I see. Well, these people that are here have come to you, and I rather sensed that they wanted to get this communication through to you to put you at ease with regard to this concern and worry, but mostly to do with someone else other than you. We are able to see people that you can't see with your normal sight. And you are able to hear voices that are not audible to the normal hearing. And this is through development. You find that you have this gift from a very early time in your life. In my own case, from when I was probably 2 or 3 years of age. And my mother, being a medium, recognized that I personally had this gift and helped to develop it, or helped me to develop it, or to use it. And I discovered that when I saw people, normally through my normal vision, that I was able also to see people that no one else could see. And by checking over a very long time and describing and giving various details, these particular people have become something that someone has known. There's no one up there. Is there no one about here named Peter? I've got someone calling Peter to me. It's not someone that's passed away. I'll have to let you have that. I'm sorry I can't give you anything more about it. But it's terribly thin with it, and I feel that someone is driving someone up the wall.
Yes.
I must say this to you. And it seems as though they ought to have more sense about it. If they would, I think things would be a lot better.
Yes.
But of course, spiritualism, you see, hasn't been, I think, given the opportunity to put its case forward properly. It's had too much criticism by people that have criticized it without knowledge of it. It's so easy for a person to say, which they do, oh, spiritualism is the work of the devil, when they have never been to a spiritualist service or even been in touch with a medium. And they quickly say, and there's no doubt that lots of people believe that they are in communication with the spirit world when they're not. But it doesn't take away that though there may be, perhaps, quite a lot of people that have been hoodwinked, there are still millions of people that have been convinced.
That's what I want.
Yes.
Because I felt as though there was someone here where I wanted to, I did it without a break in or not, but I knew something like this had happened
Yes,
to her.
that's
Now, is
right.
this absolutely correct?
Correct.
All right. Well, now this person is trying to communicate, and I feel that they are trying to tell me something about the name of Tomlinson, and certainly that they know something to do with someone named Marion. I can hear them talk to me of someone named Marion.
This is the Beatrice's niece.
Beatrice's niece, because I had this contact there, and I rather felt that this person is trying to get a communication through here, and they tell me that their relation to Marion and Ted.
God bless them.
You know who they are. Well, I feel that they want to be remembered here, and that they've come through with this particular communication, that you may know that they are here. Now, somewhere, it does seem to me that those that are communicating with you are talking about Mary Jane, is it?
My man.
Your man.
Yes.
Well, I can hear someone say to me something about Mary Jane, and then I got Frank.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Do you know who Frank is?
Well, I've got my dad, Frank.
Oh, you're Frank. All right.
Well, how does all this tie in with your spiritual healing?
Healers who have this particular gift to heal people and have the urge to want to heal them, find themselves in development, in communication, or in contact with these particular types of people. And it is a question then of getting a closeness with the spirit and working with them.
Well, I was diagnosed through hospitals that I got arthritis of the spine. I'd had hospital treatment. I'm not going to say it didn't help me. It probably did, but it felt as though I was getting really no benefit really from it, and I felt that my hand was getting slightly worse as I was going along.
How did it affect your hand?
Well, it was in a position like this. Now it's like this.
Mrs. Ray, what condition were you in when you first came here for treatment?
Well, of course, I couldn't walk. I was carried in. Curvature of the spine, kidneys and heart, and rheumatoid arthritis.
How long had you been coming here for treatment before you felt you were getting better?
Well, I should say about 6 months.
And how did your life progress after that? Did you get back to normal?
Yes, I gradually got as I could stand, and then I could walk a little. And then as time went on, of course, I got as I could get about the home. And then, of course, I went into business as I got. And I had 2 shops.
I would say that we can cure patients better if they are under a doctor, because it means that they are receiving help from both sources.
Mrs. Jones, what was wrong with you when you came here for treatment?
I had rheumatoid arthritis.
Where was it affecting you?
My hands, my shoulders, my knees, my feet.
Had you been under the doctor at that time?
Oh yes, and under the hospital too.
And what about a cure? Were they curing you?
No.
Did you really come here in desperation? Were you expecting to be cured?
Well, I don't know what I was expecting really. I came hoping, yes.
How quickly did it take them to cure you?
Well, after the first night, I picked my arm up, and that's something I haven't done for over 2 years.
Do you live a normal, active life now?
Yes. I'm doing all my own housework and everything.
I would certainly say that we don't cure everyone. We don't believe we can. And we can't save everyone from having operations.
Can I pick you up on that point? Why not? Why can't you cure everyone?
Because I don't think we're good enough. I don't think that we are, if you like, in tune with the spirit world enough. The conditions of the everyday life keep us, that we're more in this world than in the other one. And I think that if we could have the opportunity to develop our gifts like Jesus did, and the great seers and prophets and masters and messiahs of old, then I think we would have cures without operations, and we would
I
save
rarely
many
think
more
of my
lives.
own death, but I will die someday. And when I think of my spirit, I want to believe that it will live on. While most religions of the world believe in the concept of the eternal soul, the existence of the afterworld remains mysterious. According to the religion of spiritualism, however, life does continue beyond death, proven by a claim of being able to communicate with the dead. Lilydale, New York State is considered the oldest spiritualist community in the world and has become a magnet for those who hope to hear from loved ones from beyond the grave. From what I've read, the evolution of Lilydale goes back to 1844 with the formation of the Leona Free Church in Leona, New York, just a few miles from what is now Lilydale. It was a meeting place for free thinkers, people detached from prejudice and open to new ideas and the development of personal consciousness, and searching for a better way of living.
Don't we all wish for happiness to each of us at home?
During that time, there was much experimentation with mesmerism, a healing technique which evolved into the study of trance. It would be an incident in Hydesville, New York in 1848 with sisters Katie and Margaret Fox that would not only inspire the efforts of the Leona Free Church, but would blaze the way for modern spiritualism.
Now, the Fox family moved to a small town in Hydesville in 1847. Hydesville is about 9-10 miles from Newark, New York, so it's central New York. And while they were there, they had all kinds of noise and rappings and noise and rapping. And one of the Fox sisters answered back by rapping, and spirit rapped, and they rapped, and spirit rapped. So they set up a code with raps, yes and no, and A and B and C, and they found out that the person making the noise, his name was Charles Rosna. He was a peddler. He was murdered for his money and buried in the basement. But they also, when they were doing the raps, found that they could give messages. And the learned people of that day proclaimed that communication is not supernatural or miraculous, but a natural phenomenon.
In the States, in America, 1 in every 10th person was a spiritualist at one time in history. For instance, Lincoln was a spiritualist. Many of them were spiritualists. And so Lilydale basically is a hub of spiritualism. Lilydale is the largest spiritualist community literally in the whole world. And there was many of them, but Lilydale is one of the ones that survived. And the reason that Lilydale survived is that we started teaching workshops here. So it also became an educational institute. Not institute, but an educational society where they actually taught people how to do the mediumship.
Lilydale's heritage is also firmly rooted in its surroundings today. With its architecture, mostly Victorian, there's an unescapable timelessness about this place. It's impressive to think that this tiny community has been in existence for over 125 years. To have staying power, you gotta have perseverance. I wanted to know more about the community and the people who live here, and what it all might mean for me. The scientific aspect of spiritualism pertains to the practice and study of mediumship. It also includes spiritual healing, channeling energy from a higher source. But right now, I'm mostly curious about the religion itself and its belief system. Growing up Catholic, I found Catholicism rather orthodox and confining. The idea of being judged by my sins and potentially burning in hell quite honestly made me feel like a terrible person. I strayed away from it later in life. Not that I don't believe in the idea of God. I think I simply outgrew the constraints of the faith.
It's lack of doctrine. You know, there aren't a lot of rules. It's about spirit, being in touch with spirit, the oneness of all of us when we're in touch with spirit, and just trying to be the best that you can be with what you're given in this particular incarnation. So I like that. It has some freedom that I haven't found in other religions. I have said that I would never embrace a religion, but spiritualism really, really appeals to me because of that. So.
When you start losing people that you love, sometimes the traditional churches don't give you enough answers. And when you start feeling the presence of the ones that you love, and you don't have any education or understanding of that, they try to seek out people who do.
Certainly Dad was the closest person to me that I've lost, and the most recent. His dad, my grandpa, died years ago. But it's only a matter of time until there will be others. Some people think mediums have special powers. Others think they are the voice of the devil. But for the people here, the messages the mediums deliver come from what they call an infinite intelligence, and is a refined right brain function, something within the capabilities of all of us.
All the leaders of all the major religions, they were all mystics, and they all had visions, and they were all using this part of the brain. It was people who used this part of the brain who wrote literally all the Bibles in the world. All the apostles were mystics, and if you know how to read the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita and the Quran and other spiritual books, they were using this part of their brain. Most of the time they come in feelings, and they're very subtle, and it's called clairsentience, which is the French word for clear seeing, clear feeling. And then there's clairvoyance, the ability to see things. And then there's clairaudience, the ability to hear things. And there's clairgustions, which means smelling and tasting. Now, most people are clairsentient.
Situated on the grounds of Lilydale is one of the few remaining old-growth forests in New York State. Deep in its interior is supposed to exist one of the Dale's strongest energy vortexes. In the heart of the Leland Woods, this vortex is said to heighten mediumship vibrations and is most prominent near what is called Inspiration Stump.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Can I come to you, sir, if I may? Yes. As I'm linking with you, my friend, I feel I want to talk about...
Making this film does have its advantages. I had the opportunity to meet and interview several of the 40 registered mediums here at Lilydale. The decision with who to have a reading is one thing. The other thing is who might come through at a reading.
Now, you also get ancestors who have passed on, but you also get sometimes children that never had an opportunity to be born into this world. So children that were aborted or miscarriages, they come also. And sometimes you'll get your distant relatives, and sometimes you'll get angels, and sometimes you'll get what we call spiritual guides. Now, the difference between spiritual guides and angels is a guide is a person like you or me or your grandfather who's gone on to the other side of life and has continued, because they continue to educate themselves, and who comes back and helps to guide and inspire other members in the family. Now, let me say something funny. Just because you're dead, it doesn't mean you know a lot. Okay? So it's not that we speak to everybody who has passed on. It's just like asking somebody on the street, should I buy my Rolls Royce? And the person doesn't even know how to drive. You can do that. So again, just because you're dead, it doesn't mean you know a lot. So one of the gifts of the Spirit, and it talks about this in Corinthians in the Bible, is the ability to discern the Spirit. So when a spiritual being or your ancestors come around you, they give themselves away by their energy, okay? And in their energy is also their intent. So you can read into their intent.
I never really considered that someone continues to grow on the other side. Perhaps Dad sees things differently now, too. I felt excited, anxious, and kind of fearful. My worry turned from, what might my dad say, to, what if he doesn't say anything at all? I mean, personally, I still wasn't totally convinced that this was all for real. But I was about to find out.
I'm smelling tobacco. Do you remember a grandfather, a person in your family that would have chewed tobacco?
Yes.
Because I'm just sensing his vibration, so I'm getting this through taste. And I feel as though he's saying to me that he's been guiding you ever since you were a child. And now I'm smelling lilacs. So I seem to be getting a lot of smells with intuitive smell. I'm smelling lilacs with you. I'm getting the common name of Marie or Mary. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Who's that?
Mary's my grandmother.
Okay. And now there's another gentleman here that had a cancerous condition. Who's that?
That's my dad.
Okay. Now, the reason why I get, the different mediums have different gifts. And the reason why I get the physical problems is because remember, I'm a medical intuitive. So that's why I get those things, okay? And as your dad is around you, he wants to say, tell your mother I say hi, okay? He would like to thank you for being his daughter. He's sorry that he had to leave so soon. But the main thing with your father is that you will feel his presence, and you will feel the peace there.
The reading with John White left me emotional and bewildered. He was accurate about so many things. My grandpa did chew tobacco. The smell always reminds me of him. And my grandma absolutely loved lilac bushes. I did end up pointedly asking about my dad, and what I heard caught me totally off guard. It was much more powerful than I ever anticipated. Though his words were few, the impact was incredible. My first personal reading with a medium at Lilydale actually did bring my deceased father through, and it stirred up many things: disbelief, loss, memories. Even though his words were few, I felt acknowledged as his daughter, something I've yearned for years. I felt emotionally spent, exhausted. But Lilydale may be able to address that too. Just as many journey to Lilydale in hopes of a mediumistic experience similar to mine, others come for spiritual healing, hands-on healing, the guiding of energy from a higher source. And though it doesn't get as much billing as mediumship, spiritual healing is deemed one of the highest services of spiritualism. Do I believe communication with the dead is possible? Absolutely. Has it mattered to me? Dearly. And as I leave this place to re-enter the world from which I came, I bring with me a whole new sense of self. That life, my life, is truly a gift.
Don't we all wish for happiness? To each of us it holds a dream. It's magical to think of happiness and believe it's there for me.
first. They came the full length of the corridor. They stopped. We heard this cough, and we saw a shadow, a dark shadow. And then the footsteps continued. And when the footsteps stopped, it was then that I could run down to have a look for myself at what was there, or if there was anything there. And there wasn't. But I couldn't continue because it seemed as though I'd hit this block of ice. I went stone cold, and for a few seconds I just couldn't move.
What about you, Mrs. Thompson? How did you feel?
Well, same as I say, I couldn't move. I just couldn't do anything at all.
What, you were rooted to the spot
I
here,
just
were you?
rooted to the spot. I couldn't move. No.
Well, will you carry on working here now, or are you going to give up your jobs?
If they can lay it, whatever it is, or put it at peace like Mr. Higgins said, yes, we'd continue here. But if we thought we got to see it again, no.
Mr. Higginson, what have you found out today?
Well, when I first came, coming along, I was not so sure it was going to be a genuine manifestation, because so many that we brought out to, we find that they're really a figment of the imagination, or you can find some cause or natural means that makes it that it was not quite genuine. But when I got here, I was aware that there certainly was a manifestation. It was not a sort of evil thing. It was of someone that certainly wanted to communicate and had tried to impress people of her that she was here. But she is a lady that worked here and has passed away, and I know who it is now.
Are you prepared to say who it is?
I don't know entirely her full name, but I do know that it's a lady that worked here has been passed away very, very suddenly, and was a very happy person, and was round about 55 to 60 years of age.
But this is the 20th century. Can you honestly expect people to still go on believing in ghosts in this day and age?
Well, I think we perhaps believe not in actual ghosts, but that man survives the grave, because there are too many of us that know that it's true. And when you come to think there are over 3 million people in Great Britain that believe in it, there must be something in it, and of course there is.
Well, Marjorie, you've confirmed what Mr. Higginson thought. What did you tell him?
Well, I didn't tell him anything, actually. He told me, and he described the person as she really was.
Well, what sort of person was she?
She was a very nice person. She worked here for quite a while. We all got on very well together, and she was very happy at work.
When did she die?
12 months on the 19th of May, last May.
Now, do you believe in ghosts? And do you believe that it is her who's haunting the factory?
Well, I didn't, and in fact I've really laughed and joked about it. But as Mr. Higginson described the person to me, I'm thinking
this
again.
Mabel at home. Hello, Mabel. Greetings and salutations to you, son.
Thank you.
Now at this time I want to say, you will begin this week with your written lessons.
Wonderful.
I shall instruct Jimmy tomorrow morning as to give it. Now bosh about just taking those pages out. If you looked at them ahead, it wouldn't make any difference anyway. You would know that your lesson is the first one.
Right. The main thing is to keep what was mentioned a priority and go over that.
And that's right. Now I want you to have a little basic background as to the... Now when you come to the Fox sisters,
yes,
remember that the 1840 date is not exactly a permanent important date. But remember the Fox sister experience was just here in the Americas, and many, many, many striking revelations happened prior to 1848.
yes,
Only use it for basic educational reasons.
I understand. Not to go too deep, but correct.
Not in too deep, because we've gone beyond simple wrappings.
Yes, yes, like the 5 wraps, and the communication has developed so much further.
So much farther scientifically.
Yes.
And things are going. How are things around the house here now? You got me, I can't hear anything.
Come with us to the picturesquely seedy enclave of Lilydale, New York, a central place in the history of American spiritualism. Only Spiritualist church members may live behind these gates, but paying tourists are welcome to visit.
How far did you come from today?
Buffalo.
Are you Spiritualist?
Nope.
So why do you come to Lilydale?
get a reading?
For another payment of $25 to $150, one of Lilydale's professional mediums, like Ann Gaiman, will try to put you in touch with your own ancestral spirits.
And she seems to be very interested in your life and your pathway. She seems to be, all right, just a moment. You're asking for her name. Let me see. I'm not hearing her name yet, but I feel that she passed away after having had some problems related to the heart and circulation. I feel as if there had been a light stroke also.
Just because you are a medium, you just cannot come into Lilydale and hang up a sign. You are tested by a board, your board of directors.
Joyce LaJudas is Lilydale's historian.
Techniques. And you are tested to meet the requirements of Lilydale. I like to say a shiver and a shake a medium does not make. And therefore, you cannot give generalities and just bring in colors and anything you wish. You must give proof that you are communicating with spirit.
In her office inside the town museum, Joyce LaJudas chronicles how spiritualism was born alongside impassioned political movements for women's suffrage and the abolition of slavery, though it later came to attract people like film star Mae West. Spiritualism began in the 1840s with the teenage daughters of the Fox family.
And what happened is they moved to this home in 1847 in Hydesville, New York. And they heard all kinds of noise and rappings and noise and rappings. And one day Margaret Fox flippantly rapped back, and spirit rapped. She rapped 3 times, spirit rapped 3 times. So they started communicating. And the spirit was telling him that his name was Charles Rosna. He was a peddler. He was murdered and buried in the basement of that house. So they dug up the house, the foundation, and eventually found the peddler's body and the peddler's trunk. Well, the newspaper, the media got a hold of it because they were given messages. And it was the learned people of that day that proclaimed that communication with spirit is not miraculous, nor is it supernatural, thus beginning the American movement, or the birth of modern spiritualism.
150 years later, Lilydale is a quiet, restful place. A cat in the middle of the street has nothing to fear, except what awaits us all.
Hey, my name's Tom Payne, and I've lived here for 15 years.
And how old are you?
15.
What's it like to grow up in a place like Lilydale?
It's weird.
I will tell you, the one time I was on a testing committee, and Dr. Neil Zipkowski, in fact, was being tested for his mediumship. And it might sound ridiculous to you, but he brought in a man that had a ridiculous outfit on. A blue blazer with the most ungodliest brown pants you ever want to see. And could I recognize him? He thought the passing was rather recent. Well, it happened to be my brother Joe, who just passed on 8 months before. His wife got mad at him, threw out all his clothes and told him to go out and buy new clothes. Unfortunately, he passed before he had a chance to. He had his old brown paint pants on and his son's blue blazer. He was in a half coffin. No one knew that. So that was proof to me that he was in communication with my brother.
Good afternoon. Hello. I'm your chairperson. My name's George Kincaid, and I'd like to welcome you all here for the 1 o'clock stump. How many are here for the first time? I've been a medium for about 15 years. When I got a reading, it was about 20 years ago, a boy nailed me to the wall, so I figured, well, it's time to come down here and find out. And I found out they believed the same way I did. I've been here ever since. And then when my dad died, he was minister, and he was telling me this was the work of the devil. And then after he died, he come back about 6 months later through another medium to tell me I was on the right path, and he was wrong. First, to tell you what we do, the medium comes up here and tunes into the spirit world to bring your loved ones from the other side to prove the continuity of life between the physical world and the spiritual world. Being this is a religious service, let's all stand for the opening prayer. O Lord, Father, Mother God, as we come once again to the stumps to prove the continuity of life, we ask that the loved ones from the other side manifest.
There's just one place to stay in Lilydale, the old Maplewood Hotel, itself said to be teeming with ghosts, where a number of so-called spirit paintings hang on display, supposedly created without human intervention. For kicks, you can thumb through 50-year-old Fate magazines with stories like TV 12 Years Late and Dowsing for Noxious Earth Rays.
I wanted to come earlier.
Even police work takes on a mystical tinge in Lilydale. Timmy Obrachta calls himself a spiritual cop.
This is what I'm about. Always being bubbly, smiling, and freshness. And no matter who they are, I believe if they're a murderer, and if I have to arrest them, I'm still going to have that person smile at me just because of my energy and the way how I am. There's a lot of ignorant people that don't know about God or Jesus. And if I give a little bit, or even when I'm handcuffing them, you know, like here are the handcuffs, and I'll say, sir, you're under arrest. And while I'm in the car, if I'm alone, I'll say, you know better, sir. I think you should read the Bible a little bit, or I promise you, if you read the Bible about Jesus or God, the healing you're going to get.
Lilydale's visitors are mostly women. They come from nearby Buffalo and Niagara, and over the border from Ohio. Maybe pay for a reading, and finish the day at one of the free healing services.
My name is Lori Theodoro, and I'm a healer here at the temple, and I also composed the theme song, the Lilydale Healing Temple's theme song.
No. Just picked up something to do with Westfield. That's where I thought I was. There's no one there that's got a contact with Westfield, is there? Sorry? Oh. Could they be relation through your father? Yes. Because it's your father that is here. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And they're talking to me about Westfield.
Yes.
And I felt that it should have a link with you. Do you remember a family named Cook?
Yes.
Because there is someone here that wishes to be remembered to you with the name of Cook. Could your second initial, C, belong to your father? Could it be your father's initial?
No, mother's.
Oh,
mother's.
Your mother's? Yes. Oh, well, I felt it was to do with the parents. I can get away with it like that, can't I? But that's what I got, you see, here. And someone was trying to get a contact with me, and as they were doing so, they told me to go to the second initial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And they had met Mr. Legg on the other side.
Okay.
Do you remember Mr. Legg?
The name is familiar. Yes.
You knew a Mrs. Legg, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes. And our husband had passed over, hadn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's him. Because that's the one I had. And as I'm talking about this man, I feel this may be going back over 30 years with you.
Yes.
Could that be correct?
Yes.
Because I feel that I have to go back. There is a contact to do with your father and your mother, but I don't feel the contact is where you're living now. You must have moved away from your family.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Because I don't feel there are a lot of you. Well, I mean,
I don't mean a lot of you, the body, a lot of the family.
No.
And I think that you moved away because you felt you had to move away. Is that correct? Wasn't this to do with your early beginnings of life?
No, I moved away because of business.
Well, all right, let me have that, you know, I'm not far off. Nevertheless, that's what's coming through here, and I feel that they wish me to, they've told me, sir, that I have to go to where you are, or where you once lived, but it seems quite a long time ago. That's it. They've just told me, sir, you are the Westfield.
I originally came from Westfield Close.
Oh, well, there we are.
Yeah.
And, sir, you left there because you needed something different. And you are a person that has to be doing things. Is this right?
Yes.
Yes. Does your wife get a bit fed up on it, you think?
Yes.
Yes. Because I hear a voice say, you're never there to do various things, but you can always find you doing something that you've no need to do, but you do. Isn't that what you say? Anyway, do you understand it in that way?
Yes, I do, yes.
Well, good. Because I happen to have a lady here that must be your mother-in-law.
Yes.
That's passed over, I mean.
Yes.
Pardon?
Yes.
Well, she's here, and would she be a person, sir, that looked at things very seriously? Do you know what I mean by that?
Yes.
Because she's looking at you and she says, well, he's done better than I thought he was going to be. So I think she's taken to you a lot now, but I think she was careful before. Could you accept it in that way?
Possibly, yeah.
Yes. Well, I have to tell you that. That's the way it's coming through. And for some reason there, she's brought you... why have you brought him flowers? She's brought you flowers? She's brought you flowers. I mean, I would have thought fruit, but nevertheless, she's brought flowers. And she's brought them here because she said, you love to have everything neat and colourful. Is that correct?
That's true, yes.
Yes. And you love flowers yourself. Now, come on, be honest.
I do, yes.
That's
yes.
right. And you love to see them in the garden, but you love to have them around the place as well.
I do.
And you like a little pot here and a little pot there, just to brighten things up. Now, is that correct?
That's true, yes.
That's right. Well, now that's why they've come to see you. And you knew a man by the name of Prophet.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't catch the name.
Prophet.
Prosser.
No, Prophet.
Proctor?
No.
No.
Prophet.
Prophet? No, I can't recall the name.
Yes, you can. Just think about it, because I get that name there very clearly. And I am told, sir, here, that you once lived in a house where you went off a main road into a place that you couldn't go through. You had to come back again.
That's Westfield Close, yes.
Oh, there. But it was off a main road.
It was, yes.
Yes. And you did that. And you went the left side for your place rather than the right.
Correct.
Yes. Because if you went the left side, sir, there were a few more houses on that side than there were on the other side.
Yes.
And altogether there probably were about 10 houses.
Yes, about right, yes.
That's what I see. You see? And that's 30 years ago, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Yes, right, you see it now. So you see it hasn't gone. So therefore, sir, and I have something else, some very good news to tell you. And that is, you're through the woods now. You're through the wood, out of the wood. Oh, you're out of the wood now. And I have to tell you that you know you'll never retire, don't you?
I've already retired, yes.
Well, and you're doing as much work, aren't you now, in various ways you did before?
Very much so, yes.
That's it. You'll never retire. There'll always be a lot to do. And they wanted me to pass that on. I've just asked them if they can give me a house and describe it to me or let me see it. And all I can see is a house with a garden at the front, and I can see lovely blossom on a tree at the front of the house.
Yes, cherry trees in the front garden.
I can see it, and I can see a number on a gate, and it's number 6.
Correct.
There we are.
Form that comes in when we are attached to something.
If you believe you're the attachment.
Yes, so we have to believe.
Oh yes. If you believe, which is the bondage, you understand, if you believe, totally convince yourself that you are that attachment, if you really believe that, then the door is wide open for the possession. In fact, here just weeks ago, I instructed my assistants to see that certain, you have regular movie nights. I have instructed my assistants to see that certain movies will be brought to you that are available in your world to help you understand more about possession. Yes. And in fact, you have some coming up on your movie schedule. Pay attention, particular attention to it. All of your movies are chosen for the spiritual truths they reveal, and a way of entertainment, and in keeping with the classes that you are receiving. Yes. Go ahead with your question.
Well, I'm wondering if crimes are committed then by people who believe their own thoughts are them.
That is correct.
They're really not in their own house, so they do criminal acts.
That is correct. Yes. You see what happens, you have the worst possible system in your country of taking care of this very real serious problem. You send over to the other world so-called criminals and murderers and people of that nature, instead of permitting them to be educated through a proper process in an institution. Do you understand? So what you do, you send more of them over to the...
You haven't got a thing to worry about then. Will you take Mabel Ripple's word for it? Yes, I will. Here those Indians, aren't they active? Aren't you glad that you're never alone, children?
Oh, yes. I love this.
And my words are only not when to start. But I want to tell you there's no gossip going on about it. Does that help you?
Yes.
That's
Conservative,
wonderful.
yes.
That's wonderful.
I've read your inner mind, honey. God bless you.
Bless you.
God bless you.
God bless you, Mother Ripple.
So it seems to be rather quiet today.
Yes, he's waiting for a message about a certain anniversary in his life, which is either today or tomorrow, and he didn't get it yet.
Well, honey, I think you did get it, but you didn't realize it.
Oh.
In your own seances. It was either here in your seance, or Reverend Grace's, or Verna's, or somebody's. The word out of the Garden of Yellow Roses came the other day, and it was recorded. I don't know whether it was on any of your tapes or not.
I don't remember that, so it must have been on Grace's or Verna's, I think. Don't you, John? Maybe it was yours, but...
We double checked, but I don't recall.
There's no need to.
Okay, we'll just tell him that it was recorded.
Just say that it was mentioned, and it was. It was all about one thing. The first time that he was ordained at the age of 16 years old. Isn't that something?
Yes, that is wonderful. Yes. That is wonderful.
That's a record, children.
Yes. He's a wonderful, wonderful man.
That's what he was concerned about. He said, why the mediums? Well, I think that Jimmy should be a little bit more grown up than that. The mediums aren't the mediums that they used to be.
No.
That many years ago.
No, that's true.
And he's certainly not an antique.
No, he's not.
The only reason why he knows and worked with some of those grand old mediums because he was nothing but a kid.
Yeah.
But it's still remarkably wonderful that he had that celebration at the age of 16. Don't you think so, children?
Yes, that is remarkable. It's wonderful.
And it was done in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Oh.
Done by Reverend George Jewett.
Oh.
The same place that Clifford Bias started out.
Oh.
The same place that John Bunker started out.
Yes.
Under the old Amanda Flowers. I'm glad you're getting this on tape. Amanda Kaufman Flower was one of the greatest pioneers of spiritualism in Michigan, Indiana, Ohio. Started the ISA. And that's where they all started.
That's wonderful.
He was known as the baby of the ISA.
Oh.
For many, many years.
Oh.
I don't want this brought to his attention afterwards at all.
Okay.
But I want you to know the thoughts that go through his mind.
Yes.
He's a human being too. He needs to be talked to too.
Yes.
Oh, what love there is here tonight. Can you feel it, children?
Yes. Yes, we can.
The love of God. Now just go about your father's business tomorrow and do what you have to do. I don't think tomorrow is a good day to start to look at all the time.
It was a rainy night in London. On this night, I was to experience my first spiritualist meeting. It was in Caxton Hall, an old variety theatre. The program today was announced as a double demonstration of psychic art and clairvoyance. Two of England's most famous spiritualist mediums were topping the bill. Pictures and messages from the beyond, whatever that meant. I wanted to try it. Coral Polge was drawing portraits of dead people, appearing on the screen within minutes. She didn't know them, nor did she know who they belonged to, but someone in the audience should recognize them. Her partner, the clairvoyant, had to find out further names and facts.
This man is asking for Jean. Saw the name.
Gordon Higginson, Britain's most famous clairvoyant, should help to identify the pictures.
I've got a very strong sense of a man who ran quite a large business, I feel.
I feel he keeps coming up here asking for Jean. And wanting to... Oh, you're Jean. Oh, well, that's fine.
He is possibly my grandfather, whom I didn't know. And similar to my father.
Come along. The obvious hairstyle is of a lady, but at the moment I've only got her hair. She must have a face somewhere under here. She gets me quite nervous. I'm not normally a nervous person, but her lovely blue eyes look so worried. Now, come on, relax. There's a good girl. Join in immediately. You have a link with her, Gordon.
It has something to do with someone there that has lived in Hampstead. And it's a while ago. Is that correct? Good. She tells me that your number, I think, was either 112 or 113.
Yes, 112.
And she's talking about something that sounds like Willowbly Road. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Willoughby Road was in Hampstead, but the 112 went back even before that.
Have you ever known anything called Eaton Villas?
Yes.
Have you visited Eaton Villas?
Yes, I have.
Could you tell me if ever you've had a telephone number 6505?
Yes. I found on a memorial card that my family lived at Eaton Villas. This is my mother's sister, I think.
Now, I've got quite a young man who passed at a young age. He passed very tragically, very suddenly, I feel. He's fairly tall and quite slim, has thick, wavy hair, either blonde or even slightly sandy.
This man knows someone that has lived at 233 Abbey Lane. Yes. Pardon? Then did this young man know you very well? Yes. Well, isn't this the picture coming up of him? Of course it looks like him, yes. Well, hold on. He tells me, wait a moment, have you known someone by the name of Allen? You can sit down now.
I do know Allen.
Yes, and you've known someone by the name of Betty?
Yes, Betty Allen.
Betty Allen. Pardon?
I do know it.
Was the number on the door 39?
Oh, I think it is.
Yes, well, I must be right, but find it out to prove it, you see, because I can feel this contact there, and this person who passed away under very serious conditions and is talking about coming on a motorbike, you knowing him and knowing his family.
This is a young man that used to come to my shop, and he was killed on a motorcycle quite a few years ago now, and I do recognise him. I knew him very well, and I was very, very fond of him, and I was very worried about him when he did pass, because he was only very young. I thought about him a lot.
Do you think it's telepathy?
No, because in no way was I thinking of any of these things. Not thought transference, definitely not.
7 of these pictures had been drawn and identified on this evening. If it wasn't telepathy, what was it then? Was there such a thing as the beyond?
I want to give you an example. I visualized my daughter is adopted. I lived in fear that my daughter would be taken away from me because her natural mother would come, or by some reason she would be taken away. And I lived in fear that. I lived it every minute. I worried about it constantly for years. Well, you know what happened? I got sick, and she had to go live with her father. And I couldn't do a thing about it. And then it was a bunch of legal battles from then on. But anyway, it did happen because I visualized it so strongly, and I had such a great fear. Fear will draw things to you. So realize that your guides and God is around you, that you are on a spiritual path, and that they will protect you. And know that. And no harm will come to you. Spirit is around and about, through and above the physical world. Around and about, through and above the physical world. When you pray, feel it. Feel that prayer. Feel the sincerity of those words. Sincerity is so important. And develop, like I said, that rapport with God. You don't have to write this part down. I told you before, metaplasm is inert physical energy. It's stored energy. And when you exteriorate it, it's protoplasm, which is what we're going to do partly tonight. They will use the metaplasm from who's ever sitting. John, it will be as a demonstration. And then if anybody else wants to sit. And they will form their faces with that ectoplasm it becomes when it's exteriorated. And they will form their faces over the medium's face. Remember, one step at a time, but always forward. When you get symbols in your readings, remember that they are keys to what Spirit wants to tell. They're a very quick key of how to tune in very quickly, and then they will guide you as to what that means. We had a good example of that tonight. Laurel had a vision while she was on the phone with Shirley, and she did not know what the symbolic reference was. And I was guided as to what to tell her, because certain things do mean. Fire is purification, that was part of it. The cross with Jesus on it, that was part of it. That was suffering, of course. They're logical, and spirit. Your guides will develop your own set of symbols for you. Not everybody's will be the same. Now, some of them are universal, some of them are not. If my guides say to me, Geneva, you know what that means? This wouldn't mean anything to anybody else. But to me it means money. Because I think of Switzerland, Swiss banks, and Geneva means money. So if I hear my little lotus blossom say Geneva, I know that that symbol means that that person is coming into money. When you see a bicycle, this is more of a universal one, just the opposite of what I just gave you. A bicycle means balance. You cannot ride a bicycle without balance. So if you see a bicycle in front of somebody when you're reading for them, that means balance is being restored to their life. It means that they have not had balance, and now they are balancing. That everything will work out for them. Okay, that's the end of tonight.
When you said something in reading, what was your first word there?
What was that?
79.
Centered and stay on my path with my own healing and enlightenment.
I'm still skeptical, to be honest. It's a lovely place, but I still am not convinced that there is a spiritual world in the type of world that they're describing.
I thought it was entertaining. I thought it was just a sort of a sizing up of people and coming up with a likely thing that is general enough that it kind of fits their life. And I don't know that I say it's complete bunk, but I'd say it's close to.
Chris is maintaining an open mind here. Okay. Do you think you might ever come back?
Oh, I like it here. I would come back. But to me, it's entertainment. I don't know of it. I don't feel like a spirituality or anything to it.
Dennis Kludzinski reflected back on his first visit to Lilydale and how his experience with one of the many mediums there measured up to his expectations.
Yes, it was what I had expected, because the medium was saying things to me that made sense. There's no possible way she knew what that was. They were things involving work, future relationships, and so on, that were not just words, but they fit.
Pamela White and Cheryl Williams explain what a medium tries to do in a reading.
What you hope is that what comes through is positive, it's uplifting, and it helps people on a spiritual, mental, and physical level. We went to a dinner, I was thinking while Cheryl was speaking, and this friend of ours said, would you do this quick reading for this woman who had never experienced anything before, and in the midst of this, we looked at her eyes and said, you need to have your eyes checked out. Pure and simple. Well, she went to the doctor.
Never mind, because I've just been to the
right. But just for the heck of it, she went back and they found that cataracts were starting. And they said that because of our being able to see that, she was able to have the attention to her eyes that she needed.
Because quite frankly, to give somebody, just lie, if they say, oh, am I going to ride off into the sunset with this man? It would be much easier for me to just say, oh, yes, that's right. And the person would walk out the door and be very happy. But if that's not what I see, I can't say that. And so it would be much easier to lie and give them, fraudulent information. But it's because truth is simple, but sometimes people just don't want to accept it.
Sometimes a reading may be difficult to accept, but sometimes it may bring understanding. Dennis tells what happened with a friend who was struggling with the suicide of someone close to him.
He was curious about, in terms of where he was going, in terms of his work, his life, and also a very dear friend of his who had died. The medium indicated that person was there in the room from the spirit world right there alongside of her. She said, without any idea of what the circumstances were regarding his death, they had taken his life, and that he was fine, and that he found life difficult and troubling. And so his decision in taking his life was one that gave him a sense of freedom and peace. The message that this young man gave to the medium, to my friend, was for him to get on with his life, for him to stop worrying and being concerned about him, but to get on. And that was right on, because my friend was experiencing a great attachment, even though his friend's death had taken place, was still almost reliving everything. So his friend is saying in the spirit world, get on with your life. I'm fine, I'm finding where I am at peace. Get on with your life, move. That was the positive.
Not all mediums work the same. Sherry Lee Calkins explains what she does as she is about to give a reading.
Take my hand. And what we do is work with your human aura. You are a series of energy fields, and I see them. In fact, I teach classes on teaching people to see these energy fields. Everyone can learn to. It's like learning to play chopsticks on the piano, you know. Almost everyone can learn to do it. But these energy fields that you are actually your mind, your emotions, your creative self, your spiritual energies, and you are your aura, after all.
Pamela and Cheryl talk about the process a little differently.
So if you're asking how we do this, we're getting back to your question. We go into an altered state of consciousness. Now, we've been tested at several different laboratories, and scientifically they've been able to map our brains and also check our electrical voltage and skin temperature and all kinds of things to verify that we are in altered states of consciousness. So they did that kind of after we found out that we could do this. And so, in fact, they would ask us, please don't go into that state. And they found out that just sitting here in normal waking consciousness, both of us, even though Pam says she has to plug in, she just has to feel that current. But both of us in normal waking consciousness, just kind of walking around in life, are tuned in.
Sherry Lee begins her readings by explaining what will be involved.
Thank you. Just remember that getting a reading from myself or from any medium or any psychic is like asking for a roadmap. That they'll set up the path they advise you to take, but it's your choice if that's the path you want to follow.
The exercise of choice and free will is very important.
We orchestrate our lives much more so than we think, so that being a victim is mostly an illusion. People who are in accidents don't have to be at that particular place at that particular second. They choose to be.
We come from the premise that we all have free will and we have free choice. And so spirit can project that information for you. And so we don't believe in predictions, we believe in projections. The only thing you can predict is weather. And so by projecting, spirit is able to give you basic cycles and basic patterns and a basic outlook. And so that's the reason why people come for consultations.
There has been no shortage of media treatment of the spirit world, which Pamela White sees as both bad and good.
One of the great problems and challenges with the metaphysical field has been that the media has treated it so badly for so many years. All of the movies that are out, like The Exorcist
But even in the movie Ghost, I mean, Whoopi Goldberg's character wasn't, you know, I mean, she's a great actress, but her character, I mean, even bordered there on fraudulent work. So, you know, the media has dealt us kind of a bad hand.
It's been a little hard. However, in the movie Ghost, the scene where Patrick Swayze is shot and he comes back and sees his body lying there, that one scene has raised interest in consciousness in life after death all over the world, not just in this country, but all over the world. And it's really opened the door to the media to approach the subject in a very meaningful manner and in a very scientific and a very fair manner. For all, I mean, I'm, 57, and it's the first time I can remember this really happening. So it's been a very exciting time for us from that standpoint, too.
If you decide to have a reading, even out of nothing more than curiosity, one question people may have is how to protect yourself from the unscrupulous.
I think when anyone tells anyone something that specific, be careful.
I would say my first clue would be if, you're going up to a house with this huge palm in front. Right there I'd be worried. That's a gypsy-like thing.
You mean like palm reader?
Yeah, like palm reader. I mean, that's a gypsy-like thing.
I thought you meant
there.
like palm tree.
No, palm tree. Out there in California, watch out. Okay. Okay, that's very funny. I never thought of that. All right, so
that's what happens when you're visual.
Hit the edit button again. Okay. So anyway, actually, what I would look to avoid would be any trappings that look, kind of gypsy-like.
If somebody says for $1,200 I can remove a curse from you, back off.
I think you have to use your mind.
You have to use your own discernment.
But I have to say something. Here. A lot of people are out there looking to get their fortune told, and that always amazes me no end. There are a lot of people who come to Lilydale to get their fortune told, and my prayer is always, please do not come to my door.
And I say that to you because you began
Sherry
to
Lee
desire
is now
change.
well into the reading we
Red is
saw her
always
begin
change
earlier.
mode. Yes. Coming down here about 3 months ago, do you see the gorgeous mint green?
Yes.
That's the color of optimism coming into your life. That's the color of focusing on what's working and making it work better, but not being so concerned about the things we may be failing at or that aren't going so well. This is called therapy green. And I'm going to say to you, going back about 3 months and for another 4, that's a mode you're largely in. You've decided to focus on the donut and not on the whole. You're focusing on what's working for you and for what you have and sort of ignoring the fact that you may lack something. But this does mean you're in a form of therapy, I have to say. All of us go through self-therapy when we're experiencing changes in our lives. And this for you is for the better, all right? Did you actually start doing some self-work about 3 months ago? Have you been focusing on being more optimistic and having a glass that's half full of water instead of half empty? Okay. Can I go back 3 months ago when you understand that there was a specific change that you decided to make and be more positive?
Oh,
yes.
There was.
You're going to find that in about 4 months, you could figure the week if you want to measure those 24 spaces and apply a month to each one. That in about 4 months, professionally for you, there's going to be a change. That what you're going to be into is a new systems of communication. And that's just about December and January as I'm looking forward. Are you expecting a promotion or a change at that time, please?
Not at the moment.
Will you remember we're saying so? Because what you do professionally at that time, which is take on more responsibility as a communicator, is what you've been aiming at since, I say, October of '89. What you've been studying to do, what you've been working toward. This will be the beginning. And as we move forward with you, it just naturally flows to very large amounts with you, so that overwhelmingly you become a communicator. And we carry that forward then until, well, what would that be? That would be probably 1197.
People are drawn to Lilydale for many reasons, but some are mentioned more frequently than others.
People who are there to provide clarity and hope and growth.
Sounds
to
like good things.
Individuals who are looking for that in their lives but have not found it in traditional religious churches.
From Pamela's perspective, the world of spirit is not as unfamiliar as some might think.
Tonight, on this television show, if we could reach out to the audience and say, how many of you have ever felt the presence of someone who's passed, have seen their presence, have dreamt about them, which was probably an out-of-body experience where they were really, talking to the person, I will guarantee you that 50% of your viewing audience tonight would say, I have had an experience of being in contact with somebody who's passed.
This may be true, but it is nothing new. Why is it then that books about communing with spirits are now bestsellers, and mainstream news magazines run cover stories on angels? Are people dissatisfied with what used to be sufficient?
I was Roman Catholic, so the Roman Catholic perspective didn't help me too much. So a couple of years ago, I came down to Lilydale for my first time, and as I, grew from that first experience, I realized maybe there's answers here for me. So it just keeps accumulating. There's more questions, and yet the answers are coming this time.
I think the organized and institutional religions do a wonderful job in helping people to come to an awareness of the God that is within and around us. An organized religion certainly does a marvelous job in fostering traditions of faith. But one of the things that I become concerned with is the fact that religion and spirituality are certainly very, very different. And we can become religious persons, or say we're religious persons, but are we spirit-filled individuals? And there's a great difference there. And so I believe that it wasn't offering me the answers or the vehicles to get me to where I knew I wanted to be or hoped to be, which is a closer relationship between the God within me. And so Lilydale surfaces as another opportunity or means to helping me make some connections in my own journey or path. These are assistants, these are aids, these are helping mates to me along the way to get me to understand a little bit more and to grow more in my own spiritual life.
And what about the possible conflict between an interest in the spirit world and more traditional religion?
It doesn't call into question my faith as a Catholic, a Christian. It really enhances it more. Because if I'm truly about the business of growing spiritually, then how can I say that my own organized religion is going to offer me everything I wanted to know? It doesn't.
We don't say this is the only truth there is. You know, everybody has their own truth, and we honor that. We absolutely honor that. We feel, though, that we don't believe in converting people. As a matter of fact, that was a good question. Because when I started out first in the work, I tried to make everybody in the world, know the truth, And I learned as time went on, know my truth, yes. So yes, I lost all of my religious friends.
That's right.
I lost half my family, And so the last thing really we want to do is convert. We're out here to enhance those people who want to know more and who are open to know more. Of somebody who has their own, religious affiliation, that's fine.
I believe in angels.
Different paths may still lead to the same destination. Drew points that out in his advice.
Right. Not to shut the door, and if they don't believe it, that's fine. However, to chastise something just because it may be wrong for you doesn't mean it's wrong for everyone else.
But what about looking into the future? Are we venturing where we should not go?
We know that that God knows all things. And to say that your question is, how can other people know, isn't that assuming too much of a loftiness on a human level? I believe that God has given us all gifts. And I believe that God, who is ultimately in charge of it all, gives his creation the opportunity to grow and to know, but in ways that not everyone is able at a certain point. I believe that's where gifts are concerned. I think that people who have these gifts of being able to sense what the spirits are doing or saying or asking is a real gift. And it's different than looking into a crystal ball, but it's an intuition. It's having a sense of and a feeling of a sense, an intuition, and a knowingness that this is happening around us, and I am able to see where other people may not be able to see or understand. this person is able to see and understand. I believe that all good gifts are given by God. And if we use our gifts in an appropriate and loving way, they're going to bear the fruit, and they're going to touch people's lives in a healthy, wonderful sense.
Dennis, who for years had been a Roman Catholic priest in an Erie parish, reflects on how religion, spiritualism, and spirituality relate from his perspective.
One of the issues that continues to be so much in my mind is where institutional churches are today in their efforts to promote religion. And I say religion and not spirituality. I'm not saying that it doesn't take place, but I believe that spirituality is of the essence and the foundation of our Christian faith. There seems to be more of an effort among all organized religions today to perpetuate the institution. As the institution grows, obviously, laws and regulations to keep things in order and balance. But we sometimes and oftentimes lose sight of the Spirit. And that's where we are when Lilydale comes up and other places come up, is that whenever, and I think it's all God-centered, and it's all under the direction of God. Because in spite of all the wonderful things that organized religions do, as I said before, God is still in control. And if they're not doing their job, which oftentimes they haven't, there's other avenues that open up. Yes. And it's a way, I think, of God saying, this may not be the traditional road, but it will be of great assistance in your path. So I believe we cannot close ourselves off as members of any organized religion to think that it's the all and be all, because it isn't. God doesn't operate in that confinement. He operates in the Lilydale. He'll operate in this area,
in a Buddhist
area,
temple,
in a Buddhist temple,
as well as in a Catholic church.
Absolutely.
Or a Methodist church.
Absolutely. And for the individual who is actively in search, honestly in search for truth, she will find them in those areas. And it will be right. They will know it's right for them. So I believe that it's almost a summons and a real mission for us to look beyond where we are and to be open and not judgmental of those other areas and other places that can offer us growth. Not to close them off because of what we're taught, it's wrong or whatever. I think we need, and the church also needs to have people learn to trust themselves, to trust their hearts.
What I think of
The Portal of the Unknown by Andrew Jackson Davis, the Seer. From The Best Psychic Stories, edited by Joseph Louis French. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Dale Grothman. The Portal of the Unknown by Andrew Jackson Davis, the Seer. When the hour of her death arrived, I was fortunately in a proper state of mind and body to produce the superior, clairvoyant condition. But previous to throwing my spirit into that condition, I sought the most convenient and favorable position that I might be allowed to make the observations entirely unnoticed and undisturbed. Thus situated and conditioned, I proceeded to observe and investigate the mysterious process of dying, and to learn what it is for an individual human spirit to undergo the changes consequent upon physical death or external dissolution. They were these. I saw that the physical organization could no longer subserve the diversified purposes or requirements of the spiritual principle, but the various internal organs of the body appeared to resist the withdrawal of the animating soul. The body and the soul, like two friends, strongly resisted the various circumstances which rendered their eternal separation imperative and absolute. These internal conflicts gave rise to manifestations of what seemed to be, to the material senses, the most thrilling and painful sensations. But I was unspeakably thankful and delighted when I perceived and realized the facts that these physical manifestations were indications, not of pain or unhappiness, but simply that the spirit was eternally dissolving its co-partnership with the material organism. Now the head of the body became suddenly enveloped in a fine, soft, mellow, luminous atmosphere, and as instantly I saw the cerebrum and the cerebellum expand their most interior positions. I saw them disconnect their appropriate galvanic functions, and then I saw them become highly charged with the vital electricity and the vital magnetism which permeate subordinate systems and structures. That is to say, the brain, as a whole, suddenly declared itself to be tenfold more positive over the lesser portions of the body than it ever was during the period of health. This phenomenon invariably precedes the physical dissolution. Now the process of dying, or the spirit's departure from the body, was fully commenced. The brain began to attract the elements of electricity, of magnetism, of motion, of life, and of sensation into its various and numerous departments. The head became immensely brilliant, and I particularly remarked that just in the same proportions as the extremities of the organism grow dark and cold, the brain appears light and glowing. Now I saw, in the mellow spiritual atmosphere which emanated from and encircled her head, the indistinct outlines of the formation of another head. This new head unfolded more and more distinctly, and so indescribably compact and intensely brilliant did it become that I could neither see through it nor gaze upon it as steadily as I desired. While this spiritual head was being eliminated and organized from out and above the material head, I saw that the surrounding aromal atmosphere, which had emanated from the material head, was in great commotion. But as the new head became more distinct and perfect, this brilliant atmosphere gradually disappeared. This taught me that those aromal elements, which were in the beginning of the metamorphosis attracted from the system into the brain, and thence eliminated in the form of an atmosphere, were indissolubly united in accordance with the divine principle of affinity in the universe, which pervades and destinates every particle of matter, and developed the spiritual head which I beheld. In the identical manner in which the spiritual head was eliminated and unchangeably organized, I saw, unfolding in their natural progressive order, the harmonious development of the neck, the shoulders, the breasts, and the entire spiritual organization. It appeared from this, even to an unequivocal demonstration, that the innumerable particles of what might be termed unparticled matter, which constitute the man's spiritual principle, were constitutionally endowed with certain elective affinities, analogous to the immortal friendship. The innate tendencies which the elements and essences of her soul manifest by uniting and organizing themselves were the efficient and immutable causes that unfolded and perfected her spiritual organization. The defects and deformities of her physical body were, in the spiritual body which I saw thus developed, almost completely removed. In other words, it seemed that these hereditary obstructions and influences were now removed, which originally arrested the full and proper development of her physical constitution, and therefore that her spiritual constitution, being elevated above those obstructions, was enabled to unfold and perfect itself in accordance with the universal tendencies of all created things. while this spiritual formation was going on, which was perfectly visible to my spiritual perception, the material body manifested, to the outer vision of observing individuals in the room, many symptoms of unease and pain, but the indications were totally deceptive. They were wholly caused by the departure of the vital or spiritual forces from the extremities and viscera into the brain, and thence into the ascending organism. The spirit arose at right angles over the head or brain of the deserted body, but immediately previous to the final dissolution of the relationship, which had for so many years subsisted between the two, the spiritual and material bodies, I saw, playing energetically between the feet of the elevated spiritual body and the head of the prostrate physical body, a bright stream or current of vital electricity. And here I perceived what I had never before obtained a knowledge of, that a small portion of this vital electrical element returned to the deserted body immediately subsequent to the separation of the umbilical thread, and that portion of this element which passed back into the earthly organism instantly diffused itself through the entire structure, and thus prevented immediate decomposition. As soon as the spirit, whose departing hour I had thus watched, was wholly disengaged from the tenacious physical body, I directed my attention to the movements and emotions of the former, and I saw her begin to breathe the most interior and spiritual portions of the surrounding terrestrial atmosphere. At first it seemed with difficulty that she could breathe the new medium, but in a few seconds she inhaled and exhaled the spiritual elements of nature with the greatest possible ease and delight, and now I saw that she was in possession of exterior and physical proportions which were identical in every possible particular, improved and beautified, with those proportions which characterized her earthly organization. Indeed, so much like her former self was she that, had her friends beheld her as I did, they certainly would have exclaimed, as we often do upon the sudden return of a long-absent friend who leaves us and returns in health, "Why, how well you look! How improved you are!" Such was the nature, most beautifying in their extent, of the improvements that were wrought upon her. I saw her continue to conform and accustom herself to the new elements and elevating sensations which belong to the inner life. I did not particularly notice the workings and emotions of her newly awakened and fast unfolding spirit, except I was careful to remark her philosophical tranquility throughout the entire process, and her non-participation with the different members of her family in their unrestrained bewailing of her departure from the earth, to unfold in love and wisdom throughout the eternal spheres. She understood at a glance that they could only gaze upon the cold and lifeless form which she had just deserted, and she readily comprehended the fact that it was owing to a want of true knowledge upon their parts that they thus vehemently regretted her merely physical death. The period required to accomplish the entire change which I saw was not far from 2 hours and a half, but this furnished no rule as to the time required for every spirit to elevate and reorganize itself above the head of the outer form. Without changing my position or spiritual perceptions, I continued to observe the movements of her newborn spirit. As soon as she became accustomed to her new elements which surrounded her, she descended from her elevated position, which was immediately over the body, by an effort of willpower, and directly passed out of the door of the bedroom in which she had been lain, in the material form, prostrated with disease for several weeks. It being in the summer month, the doors were all open, and her egress from the house was attended with no obstruction. I saw her pass through the adjoining room, out of the door, and step from the house into the atmosphere. I was overwhelmed with delight and astonishment when, for the first time, I realized the universal truth that the spiritual organization can tread the atmosphere, which is impossible while in the coarser earthly form. So much more refined is man's spiritual constitution. She walked in the atmosphere as easily and in the same manner as we tread the earth and ascend an eminence. Immediately upon her emergence from the house, she was joined by two friendly spirits from the spiritual country, and after tenderly recognizing and communing with each other, the three, in a most graceful manner, began ascending obliquely through the ethereal envelopment of her globe. They walked so naturally and fraternally together that I could scarce realize the fact that they trod the air. They seemed to be walking upon the side of a glorious but familiar mountain. I continued to gaze upon them until the distance shut them from my view, whereupon I returned to my external and ordinary condition. This account of the facts of what actually happened at death is confirmed by numerous other witnesses, who agree as to the main details. The end of The Portal of the Unknown by Andrew Jackson Davis, the Seer.